All right, guys, Adrian here, and we're back for another Tuesday tip of the week. And this week, it's all about rebuild. Why you should be taking creatine. And I'm just gonna be honest, I literally just started retaking creatine for the first time in almost a year. You guys know that I took a pretty valid hiatus away from training. So I went about 3 to 4 months with probably the least amount of activity that I've ever experienced in my life from the time I was probably 8 or 9 years old as a young boy. And I had a long journey ahead of me to get back to my fitness where I was at the 2017 CrossFit Games, but nonetheless, it's getting there. And what I wanted to tell you guys and share with you is that I started taking creatine 2 weeks ago. What I did is I started taking 10 grams a day for 5 days. So with our Rebuild product, that's 2 scoops. Now, the validation and reason behind the loading phase is to make sure that my ATP stores and my creatine phosphate stores are essentially backloaded, right? Or that they're saturated. And there's some discrepancy on, do you need to load creatine or do you not need to load creatine? I personally want to do it as an experiment on myself. Now, out of that first 5 day period, I'm on 1 scoop a day, which is 5 grams per day. And I just take it either before or after my training sessions. Now, a lot of you guys are probably like, cool, I get it. Creatine apparently works for Adrian, but why should I take it? There are a lot of reasons, but the number one reason that I'll share with you, and it's universal, honestly, from young training athletes even to elderly populations that aren't so physically active anymore, and it's simply that it is going to help prime our energy molecules, right? You guys are familiar with ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and what that is our energy molecule that we're usually going to be feeding off of the most within inside the gym. And what I mean by that is that's going to help us make a maximal effort muscle contraction in a power lift, in an Olympic lift. It's going to help us get that assault bike cranking at maximal wattage and keep our power output as high as we can. Essentially, creatine is going to help make that ATP more readily available throughout the state of any training session that we put ourselves through. Now, creatine in itself doesn't just make you stronger, right? So understand that. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm taking creatine, but they're not out there putting in the work. The magic is you take the creatine, you follow the prescription that's given to you on whatever supplement that you happen to be taking or choose to take, because just because you guys think that it's working for you, more of something doesn't always mean better, right? There's a prescription for a reason. And part of it's us protecting you from yourself and also really trying to optimize the results. But nonetheless, the goal is take the product, but also put it to use. Over time, with regular exposure to a product like Rebuild here, you are going to start to notice that instead of at set 4, where you need to deload the weight or you're not able to continually increase your working volume or working sets, you are. So instead of 6 working sets that day, maybe you make it through 7 or 8. And then if you can imagine coming back from a Monday lower body session, let's say you're going through a cycle where it's like lower, upper, midline, lower, upper, midline, or lower, upper cardio, lower, whatever your focus is specifically, whether you're out there training and you're doing a watt every day with some strength work, it doesn't matter. The goal is that creatine will allow you to put higher amounts of power out in your working sets and recover faster between your sets. So just think, this is a tool that's going to allow you to do more work in any given session. And then after that Monday hard training day, when you come back on Tuesday, there's a little more pep in your step, there's a little more fuel in your fire, and you're able to take that Tuesday, where you're usually a little tired from Monday, and take it to another level. Over time, guys, weeks and months of this, that's where creatine really has its value. So it's not magic in itself, but what it does is it allows us to feel a sense of urgency in our training because of the more readily available ATP and energy, and it allows our power output to be higher. My Tuesday tip of the week for you guys is do some creatine research yourself. See why it might be made for you and why and how you can start to implement it into some of your training.